In mitral regurgitation, the mitral valve would be more predisposed to being open than closed. So it's a leaky valve. Blood from the left ventricle during systole, as it's supposed to be pushed upwards into the aorta, would also backflow into the left atrium because the mitral valve fails to close during systole or after diastole. Therefore, the blood, as it still passes into the left atrium or through the mitral valve during systole, would result in a pansystolic murmur, a murmur that lasts for the duration of systole. Now, another thing that happens or is characteristic of this type of murmur is that it is high pitched. It's high pitched because as the ventricle contracts, it exerts a very high force in order to push the blood into the aorta so that it could supply the rest of the body. But during that exertion of force, the blood would also be sent into the left atrium through a very, very narrow space, the open or leaky mitral valve. So what happens is the blood that goes into the left atrium during systole would travel at very high speeds, very high velocity. Therefore, the murmur that is heard will be high pitched and whistling, much like when wind passes through a very small opening through your windows and you'd hear sounds like whistles and screams. That's how a murmur, a pansystolic murmur in mitral regurgitation would sound like, I'm assuming. Now, if you were to put it all together, in a person with mitral regurgitation, their S1 and S2 sounds would be masked by the pansystolic murmur that is very loud and high pitched. So instead of hearing lup dup, you'd hear a brrr the entire time. And this would sort of cover, and you would not be able to elicit S1 and S2, at least not as distinctly as in other hearts. Eventually, if this sort of condition goes untreated, the person could develop congestive cardiac failure because the body is not able to receive optimal cardiac output, since a lot of the cardiac output is now being sent back into the left atrium. And in that sort of situation, you would also be able to appreciate the gallop rhythm S3. While auscultating for pansystolic murmur in a person with mitral regurgitation, if you're unable to listen to the murmur as clearly, or if you would like to increase the intensity of the murmur, then maybe ask the person to lie on his or her left lateral position. This would make it louder. Also ask the person to expire and hold his or her breath so that you can accentuate the sound. Pansystolic murmur of mitral regurgitation also radiates to the left axilla. So when the person is in the left lateral position, place your stethoscope against their left axilla and you will be able to hear it.